Hey guys, welcome back to the Academy. So today I thought it might be fun for me to share my experiences with you when I was in a psych ward. I don't know about you guys, but the thought of a psych ward always sounded really scary to me. I always got this idea in my head of these haunted old insane asylums where they're doing electroshock therapy and stuff like that. Everybody's wearing straight jackets and shit. That's what I was expecting. But I reached a point where I was like, okay, I need to go somewhere to get help. And so I did make the decision to check myself into a psych ward at one point. And it was actually a really great decision. Not only was it a great decision, but it was a life-saving decision. Because it turns out I had high blood pressure from all the weed I was smoking, and my blood pressure was so high that I was well within risk of having a stroke, like at any moment of any day. So, luckily I was able to get that figured out. And that's the thing, I'm all for people using natural remedies to solve different problems that they might have. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with taking a medication if it's going to save your life, Like, I am absolutely not supportive of big pharma and all that stuff, but I would not be here right now if I hadn't checked into that psych ward and gotten some blood pressure pills. So I guess all I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to get help. If you find yourself in a situation like I was in, where you start thinking, okay, maybe a psych ward really is the only thing that can help me, don't be afraid to just check yourself into one. Also, you can look at reviews for them online. You can find one that has higher reviews and try to go to that one. Obviously, I don't know your financial situation and insurance coverage, stuff like that, but yeah, just don't be afraid to get help. There's a lot of very negative stereotypes out there, and they're there for a reason because of, very tragic historical treatment of people with mental ailments. But yeah, it's at least the one I went to. I've only been to one, so I can't speak for all of them. But the one that I went to was really quite nice. I think my favorite part about going there was all the friends that I made. Like, seriously, the people in the psych ward were some of the coolest people I have ever met. You're not going to find a cast of characters like that just out on the streets. Not to mention the food there was very good. I almost said incredible. I shouldn't say incredible, but it was incredible by the standards that you would expect of psych ward food, So, I got 3 meals a day. They were all delicious, and I actually ate more in the psych ward than I did when I was at home. Which that actually brings me to one of the critiques I have for the psych ward, which is they didn't really give us the ability to exercise much. So between, having these 3 meals a day, I'm eating more than I usually ate at home, and I wasn't able to lift or run or anything like that, I put on a lot of weight in that psych ward. I was only in there for a week, and oh boy, my body did not look the same. But yeah, they couldn't really let us use weights because they were afraid that some of the patients there might use the weights in a fight, or throw them at somebody, that sort of thing, which is understandable. But I think they should look into using machines where the weight is built into the machine, and you just you put the pin in the weight that you want to use. That might be a good alternative. Another critique I have for the psych ward that I went to, at least, is that they didn't really offer much for therapy. Almost all of the therapy was group therapy, which basically just amounted to us sitting around like we're in a kindergarten class. It wasn't really much therapy at all. And so I feel like that's an area where, like I said, at least the psych ward I went to, I feel like that's an area where they really dropped the ball. I think a lot of patients there would have benefited from some more one-on-one therapy. But yeah, that'll be all for today, guys. I hope you guys found this video at least somewhat useful or interesting, or, I hope you get something out of it. if this video is finding you, you know, maybe it's a sign that you're not meant to go through this alone. Whatever it is that you're going through, if you are going through something, I mean, realistically, we're all always going through something. But yeah, maybe it's a sign that, you know, Psych Ward might be a good option for you. You never know unless you try it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You have a week of being stuck somewhere you don't like. It's not going to be the end of the world if it turns out not being a good experience. But if it does end up being a good experience, don't miss out on it just because you're afraid. You know, it's fear of the unknown that's holding you back. So if you think you need to go to a psych ward, just go to one. One thing I will say though, and I don't want to scare you guys away, but there is a misconception out there. A lot of people think that if you check yourself into a psych ward, you can check yourself back out whenever you want to. That is not the case. I checked myself into the psych ward, and I did not have the ability to check myself out. That was 100% up to them. So yeah, when you check yourself into a psych ward, you are signing away your freedom. And that is something that I think is at least worth noting. But yeah, that's all for today's video, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.